Well, I just had a blunder for sure. I forgot my party chat was set to prioritize game chat, so everyone heard my previous recording, and it's kind of awkward. So as I was gonna say, this video is kind of like a mid-season not analysis per se. It's just like a little discussion. I was originally gonna be playing a mission, but I don't want that to happen again, so I'm just gonna stay by myself in this lobby. Hope you guys do not mind. But this is more kind of like a podcast format. I'm gonna go over like league leaders and surprises of the season so far, going into the All-Star break, which doesn't technically start until Monday with the Home Run Derby, because we still have games today and tomorrow, but it's the weekend, so I want to get into it. One thing to note so far about this season is it's definitely has a lot of surprises to me. For league leaders in batting average, this is the whole league, not just American League or National League. You have Mookie Betts batting .364, which is absolutely incredible. And JD Martinez, who didn't sign until, I believe, like a week into training camp or close to it, is hitting .330. Other extreme surprises to me is Markakis hitting .324 for the Braves. I thought he was maybe a 300 hitter, but that was definitely closer to 300 than definitely 324. Segura and Gannett hitting .326 and .325 respectively, for Gannett to be 4th and Segura to be 5th. Segura, of course, of the Seattle Mariners, if you are unfamiliar. And also, Almora Jr. of the Cubs hitting .319. This is incredible, but possibly the biggest surprise of all of them is Matt Kemp coming back from what seemed like the nether realms at the beginning of the year, getting cut, getting signed and cut again, signed to a minor league contract, and then going back with the Dodgers, is leading the Dodgers, hitting .316. That is absolutely incredible. Other surprises on the year would probably have to be Duffy of the Tampa Bay Rays. He's had an outstanding season so far. Maybe Aguilar of the Milwaukee Brewers having a really solid year. Ramos of the Tampa Bay Rays hitting a sub 300, but really close to 300 as well. Those are some players I didn't see doing as well as they are. And when it comes to home runs, JD Martinez leading the league with 29 home runs. Ramirez from the Indians with 28. It's absolutely incredible to have two guys with that many already. Not to mention you have so many people close behind. You have 3 people tied with 25. You have Mike Trout, Francisco Lindor, I believe is his first name, of the Indians, Aaron Judge of the Yankees, all with 25. Then you have Aguilar of the Brewers with 24. Mookie Betts of the Boston Red Sox, Manny Machado of the Baltimore Orioles, Nolan Arenado of the Colorado Rockies, Giancarlo Stanton of the Yankees, and Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals, all tied with 23. That's the top 11, all tied with 23 or more. And then you have 3 people tied with 22, and the surprise here is Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are just so full of surprises this year. And one thing I love, if anybody here is an Oakland Athletics fan, they might agree with me here in the sense that they're one of the biggest surprises in baseball this year, because they didn't start out too well. Their roster, I believe, is the lowest paid roster in baseball, like the lowest salary. And yet Chris Davis, with some of the best wheels, or at least what I would assume would be some of the best wheels, is hitting 21 home runs, tied with Paul Goldschmidt and Edwin Encarnacion, and ahead of people like Blackman, Story, Moustakas, and stuff like that. I didn't think Davis had that kind of power, so it's good to see him doing so well. And when it comes to RBIs, the top 5 there's maybe a couple surprises here, maybe one in particular. Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies is hitting 5th in RBIs, and the whole league was 67. Now, second through 4 are close. You got Ramirez of the Indians with 69, Suarez with 69, and Aguilar of 68. Like I said before, Aguilar's kind of a surprise, but one of the biggest surprises to me is JD Martinez with 80, 11 more than anyone else. Other than that, the probably biggest surprise RBI-wise for the whole league is you go down. And I would have to say it's the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm going to get them some respect here. Tied for 29th in the league with 56, you got Hoskins, one of the outfielders. Now, 56 compared to JD Martinez's 80 isn't that great, but this is also a roster that a lot of people probably didn't think would contend. I think I picked the Phillies to win a wild card, so I'm kind of happy they're doing well. But to have that on a roster that wasn't expected to do well is an extremely solid performance, especially when you have people doubting you the whole time. And when it comes to runs, the league leader is Francisco Lindor with 85, which is really good for most people's complete seasons, which is incredible. Mookie Betts is second with 78, and he's missed, I think, 2 weeks of action or somewhere close to that. One of the surprises here would be third place, Albius of the Atlanta Braves. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. He is 73. That is also incredible. Another one is yet another Philly, Hernandez, the second baseman, with 63 runs. With solid performances like that around the board, I can see why the Phillies are having a good season. Now, I'm not going to get into slugging on base or OPS or anything like that, but the last offensive stat, I guess you could say, is I'm going to get into is stolen bases. Now, to remind you of how the stats or how relative it is to the league, 29th place and people who tied only have 11. So mind you, the league leader is Starlin Marte Taylor of the Nationals and Marte of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They both have 24. Right behind him is Enciarte of the Braves with 23. So all center fielders, first, second, third. But then you start getting infielders competing with Trey Turner, D. Gordon, Anderson of the White Sox, Ramirez of the Cleveland Indians. Ramirez is one of those overall hitters that's just incredible. Mookie Betts and Benintendi, the outfield pairing of the Boston Red Sox, both have 17, which is incredible. You consider Betts ranking so high in home runs, ranking high in RBIs, ranking high in runs, leading the league in average, 11th in stolen bases. He's having an incredible career season that's definitely going to earn him a good paycheck when it comes time. And as for pitching, Luis Severino, one of the biggest surprises of the American League, the only pitcher in the league with more than 12 wins with 14. Definitely a Cy Young candidate. But probably the biggest surprise of all when it comes to pitchers throughout the league is, I'm going to pick 2 or 3. One, Blake Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays, absolutely lighting up the league. He's played so well against some tough competition too, with like the Yankees and Red Sox and stuff like that. You have Godley of the Arizona Diamondbacks with 11 wins, having a really good season as well. Another starting pitcher I didn't think necessarily would do so well, but is actually doing okay, is Berrios of the Minnesota Twins. He's got 9 wins on a kind of a bad team. That's actually really good. Now, when it comes to ERA, we have a battle for the league leader in ERA. Now, one of the trade candidates for this season, because the trade deadline's coming up too, and I'm going to try to have some trade coverage here. We have Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets with a 1.68 ERA. If he can be healthy and he can maintain that ERA, someone is going to probably pay big to trade for him. Now, more likely candidates behind him are Verlander of the Houston Nationals with a 2.05, Bauer with a 2.23, Chris Sale with a 2.23, Nola with a 2.26, and I mentioned Snell's pitching performance for the Rays. Not only is he one of the league leader in wins, but his ERA is only 2.27. Severino at 2.31 is okay, but it's looking right now like the top 3 candidates for Cy Young, at least in the AL, would probably be Sale, Verlander, and Severino, all because I don't see Snell having a second half season performance like the first half unless he's the real deal. If he is the real deal, he will be incredible. For ERA leaders, one of the biggest surprises here would be Stripling of the Los Angeles Dodgers with a 2.08 ERA out of the pen. It's incredible to be that consistent, especially when you don't know when you will pitch. For starting pitchers, I should say, one of the better surprises throughout the season, even though his ERA isn't as great as it could be, is Freeland of the Colorado Rockies. But what a lot of people don't consider is they consider with the Rockies with the hitters, they consider the numbers to be inflated because of the environment they play in. But they need to do the same thing with pitchers, because his ERA is only 3.11, but I would say about half his starts come in Coors Field, which is incredible. His adjusted ERA is probably even better. You got Barrios from the Twins with a 3.6, also pretty solid seasons as well. And when it comes to strikeouts, one of the most important stats for a pitcher, you have Chris Sale leading the league with 188 strikeouts already. And I think we're only 96 games, 100, roughly on 90 to 100 games into the season. So we still got about 70 to go, which is another 12 starts, and he's already 12 away from 200 strikeouts on the season. Scherzer's kind of right behind him with 182, followed by Garrett Cole with 171, Trevor Bauer with 168, and Verlander with 160. Now, when it comes to Cy Young, you think low ERA, wins, strikeouts, probably some of the bigger stats that people consider when they think of this. One thing that hurts Blake Snell is him having only 134. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. That's actually really good. But when it's compared to the likes of a 188 strikeout season, or even Verlander's 160, it's a notch for the other guy. It's not a knock against Snell, but still, something that he's not really in control of, but he can work on it. But he does get them out. He does get them out. I'll give him credit for that. And then when it comes to saves, the league leader is Diaz of the Seattle Mariners with 36, which is an incredibly good season. Even if you only got 36 all year, I would consider that pretty good. And then you have Craig Kimbrell of the Boston Red Sox with 29 going into a contract year. It'll be interesting to see where he goes at the end of the year if he actually moves. Surprises here would definitely be probably Trenian of the Oakland Athletics with 23. Hand of the Padres having 24. Boxberger of the Diamondbacks having 23, and Kella of the Texas Rangers having 23. Those are guys I didn't think could lock down the ninth inning, but they've done relatively well for sure. Now, when it comes to WHIP, one of the, I think, more underrated stats, because that combines hits and walks, Verlander's leading the league with only a .83 WHIP. That is absolutely incredible. And then the other Cy Young candidates you would expect, Scherzer, Sale, Kluber, are .9, and .91. Now, another knock against Snell is his is down at 13th with 1.07. So if he has a really solid second half of the season and one of these guys slides, he could get some serious consideration for Cy Young. And I know I'm talking a lot about Snell, but hey, when you're having a season that incredible, you deserve credit. Now, when it comes to like team success, seeing some of the team leaders and runs is incredible. The Boston Red Sox are outscoring teams by 31 runs at least. Houston's in second place with 488, and Boston has 519. A surprise you could consider here would probably be the Cincinnati Reds with 449 in 8th place. That's pretty cool. Batting average-wise for a team, Boston's in first with 272. Probably the biggest surprise here for me would have to be the San Francisco Giants hitting 252 in 10th place, tied with Tampa. Those teams are doing solid, at least with batting average. And when it comes to team power, of course, the Yankees are leading the league with 158, 27 more than the second place Boston Red Sox. But the fact that you have the top two people in the same division is kind of crazy. With Toronto in 6th place, that means that AL East is awfully powerful. Last place is the Kansas City Royals with only 75, less than half of what the Yankees have. When it comes to RBIs, like knocking in the runs that you score, the Red Sox were first in runs, but we're also first in RBIs, which is nice. Last place is, again, the Royals, which is sad. And considering how good some of the Padres have done, them being near the bottom as well kind of just sucks. First place in stolen base, definitely a surprise to me, would be the Milwaukee Brewers. They deserve a credit for how well they have done this year. And ERA, to have a collective ERA as a team below 3, the Houston Astros are absolutely incredible. Absolutely fucking incredible. when you compare that 2.94 to the Kansas City Royals, probably the worst team in the league, at a 5.4 ERA, it's just so unfair. It's so unfair. Now, when we go to the standings, probably the last thing we'll cover. I'm trying to see if I can find it. You have the Red Sox 4 games ahead of the Yankees currently, but part of that is a misnomer because the Red Sox have currently played, I believe, 4 more games than the Yankees. Now, I think the Red Sox are tied in extra innings as I'm recording this right now with the Toronto Blue Jays. That division race is going to be probably one of the most exciting races in the league. And also, one of the reasons why I said earlier 90 to 100 games is because the Yankees are currently at 93 and the Red Sox are at 97. So there is a slight discrepancy there. The Orioles only having 26 wins with Manny Machado and them not trading him yet kind of sucks. Then you have the Indians leading a very, very bad AL Central. It kind of sucks considering how good of a contender the Tigers and Royals were not too terribly long ago. They have a 7.5 game lead on second place, the Twins, who are 6 games under 500. The Indians are sitting 9 games above right now, but in the last 10, they're only 5-5. It's pretty bad that they're 7.5 games ahead of the Twins, but the Twins have gained 3 games on them. That's in the last 10. That's how bad the Central has been this year. Then you have the AL West. The Astros are winning by 4 games over the Mariners. So I believe that would place the Mariners and the Yankees in the wild card, with the Yankees hosting. The absolute worst team in the American League, despite being so poor offensively, is not the Kansas City Royals. It's actually the Kansas City Royals. It's Baltimore Orioles, who technically are 1 game back of the Kansas City Royals. And the Orioles are 40 games back of the Boston Red Sox. That's how bad they are. And in the NL East, we have an interesting division race here. We have the Philadelphia Phillies at 53-40, leading the division 1.5 over the Braves. I apologize. With the Nationals at 500, 6.5 games back. The interesting thing about this race is it's a lot closer than what it looks like, because the Braves are on a 3-7 stretch in the last 10, with the Phillies 7-3, so they did gain ground and take the lead. Marlins aren't doing as bad as I thought they initially would. They're 39-57, but still sad. But I don't know where they would have been if they hadn't did all those trades at the beginning of the year, so it's not fair to judge them or criticize them too bad. And you have the Cubs narrowly ahead of the Brewers currently by half a game. They have currently played 5 less games than the Brewers, so that is definitely interesting. Part of the reason why is the Brewers are 4-6 in their last 10, Cubs are 7-3, so it's easy to see why they slid here. And in the NL West, you have a practical tie with the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. Dodgers only half a game ahead, one game ahead in the loss column, or half a game ahead in the loss column. One of the good surprises in this division is the Rockies are 8-2 in their last 10. They're only 3 games back, with the Giants also 3 games back, so that's a really close division. Wild card here would most likely be the Milwaukee Brewers, or I should say Chicago Cubs, since they are only half a game back, hosting most likely what would be the Atlanta Braves. It's hard to tell when there's so many games. I think they're half a game ahead of the Diamondbacks right now. Biggest surprise standing-wise for me would have to be, well, the Diamondbacks and Rockies are doing okay, kind of like I thought. The NL West is probably actually shaping out almost exactly like I thought, which is kind of funny. And the NL Central, it's not too different than what I thought, but it's I gotta say this again, it is the Braves and the Phillies. I thought the Nationals would win this, with I think the Phillies competing for a wild card is what I predicted. But I didn't think the Nationals would be struggling to be 500, with the Phillies 6.5 games ahead. And for the American League, one of the bigger disappointments for me is the Angels, barely above 500. And one of the biggest surprises for me is the Oakland Athletics, 11 games over 500. And still 9 games back of the division leader. It is absolutely incredible. Now, All-Star Weekend is coming up, is actually about to happen Monday. That's when it starts with the Home Run Derby. A few notes on that as well. If you don't know who the participants are, I'm not necessarily going to go over because it's still, some people might pull out and some people might go in, so that's kind of null and void. This just in, the Red Sox just won in the bottom of the 10th with a walk-off grand slam by Xander Bogaerts. Holy shit, as a Red Sox fan, that is fucking incredible. That's happening as I'm recording. That's actually kind of awesome. But one thing that irritates me about the All-Star game is I mentioned a lot in this video Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays being one of the most surprising players of the season, a possible Cy Young candidate for sure. Also, forgot to note, Muncy might just. Well, I don't think Muncy qualifies for Rookie of the Year. I'll have to see with the candidates, but Gleyber Torres, I believe is his name, for the Yankees, probably my leader in the AL so far, if he's a rookie. I have to check, because with MLB, the qualifications for being a rookie are slightly different. But Snell not getting on the All-Star roster initially is utter, complete bullshit. And one thing I will say as well, Bryce Harper, he may be one of the league leaders in home runs, but the fact he's starting in the outfield despite a .218 batting average is absolute dog turd. You cannot tell me in any MLB game you have ever played you could manage a .218 average, not even league to lead in home runs, and still start in the outfield for the National League. Are you fucking kidding me? He's getting voted in on name alone, and that pisses me off because it's not necessarily about Bryce Harper. It's the bigger picture here. Players like Snell, who are having a completely outstanding season, get left out of the American League, while people who are hitting shitty .218 are getting in because they're a big name player. Come on, man. That's bullshit. It should be based on your performance that season. It's like Bryce Harper's getting judged for what he's done previous years. And one thing that irritates me the most is I get some players don't want to participate in, let's say, the home run derby or stuff like that. But it's like the All-Star game with the East versus West when it came to the NBA. They had a draft format, but they had equal players from the West and the East. Well, with the home run derby, it's 7 NL players against 1 American League player. How is there such a discrepancy in one of your biggest events of the All-Star Weekend? I'm personally not watching it anymore because there's no one I can really root for because the one AL player is from a rival team, and I don't like that. Anyway, it's not too much about that. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think is the biggest surprise of the season so far? And are you happy with how your team's doing? Are you mad with how your team's doing? Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Should be trade season. I'll probably come out with little videos as they go down instead of doing one big bulk one. So I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.